After witnessing Guy and Rudra's battle, Velzard craved more power. Her jealousy transformed King of Patience Gabriel into King of Envy Leviathan, yet she retained both abilities, hiding her evolution even from Guy. When Feldway sought to recruit her, his control failed. Velzard was immune to Archangel's dominion. Still, she joined him, eager for a true battle with Guy. Velzard wasn't acting alone. She had a secret collaborator, someone she had once saved from near annihilation, now an advisor working in the shadows. However, Testarossa uncovered his presence, forcing him into the open. The man, elegant yet unsettling, wore a striking red suit, his heterochromatic eyes radiating an ominous presence. Though unfamiliar to Testarossa, his aura made his identity clear: Twilight, the progenitor of vampires and ancestor of humanity. Feared for his unethical experiments, he had shaped entire races under Veldanava's influence, disregarding morality in his pursuit of knowledge. His return was an unwelcome revelation, even among the strongest. Now, standing before Testarossa, he saw not just a battle but an opportunity to test his perfected pseudo-dragon body against one of the most formidable beings in existence. Their confrontation marked the beginning of a new shift in the war. Twilight had gone too far without realizing it. His arrogance, provocations, and mere existence had crossed a line he should never have stepped over. Testarossa, despite her composed demeanor, had already reached a conclusion: Twilight should have stayed dead. Luminous had meticulously ensured his annihilation with spirit collapse and disintegration, attacks that left no trace behind. Even a primordial like Testarossa would not have survived. And yet, he stood before her. Something didn't add up. If Twilight had truly perished, his return was an impossible resurrection. The ability to create alternate bodies was rare, mastered only by Velgrand and Zoe under unique conditions. If Twilight had such a power, he would have acted long ago instead of remaining hidden. The mystery didn't change Testarossa's resolve. Whether his existence was a trick or something more, there was only one way to be certain: by erasing him completely. Her crimson eyes burned with icy determination. Twilight would not survive this battle. Rain stared at Twilight in disbelief, barely restraining her irritation. She muttered that Twilight was tougher than a cockroach, only for Misery to scold her. Their banter took an absurd turn when they debated whether the comparison was worse because Misery hated bugs. Moss wisely stayed out of it, until Sauka, silent until now, casually asked if Testarossa might fear insects. The suggestion horrified Moss. Even considering a primordial's weakness was a forbidden thought. Yet Rain and Misery entertained the idea, whispering about the nightmare of someone throwing a bug at Testarossa. Moss panicked, pleading for them to stop, but Sauka remained unfazed. She then shared unsettling information. Rimuru despised cockroaches so much that he enforced pest control across Tempest. Worse, Kara had once nearly unleashed nuclear magic over a single cockroach, forcing Rimuru to approve a special extermination squad. Moss, overwhelmed, tried to shift the conversation, but Rain and Misery turned on him instead, mocking his inability to read the mood. Worse, Rain casually called him Moss-kun while effortlessly accepting Sauka's casual interruption, something Moss found utterly insane. In the end, Moss was left speechless, realizing he had completely lost control of the situation. Moss was in complete disbelief. The conversation had spiraled out of control, and even Misery, usually the most rational primordial, was siding with Rain. Worse, Rain had started calling him Moss-kun with unsettling familiarity. As Moss tried to correct this, Rain teased him further, claiming she was showing him respect for his supposed potential to defeat her. Misery sighed at the nonsense but redirected the discussion: Sauka's investigation into Primordial's weaknesses. Sauka hesitated before revealing her findings. Benimaru disliked carrots, Diablo and Testarossa didn't get along, and minor details meant to give them strategic advantages. However, when it came to Testarossa, she had found nothing. Rain, unsatisfied, made an outrageous suggestion: having Moss throw a cockroach at Testarossa to test her reaction. Moss panicked, horrified at the mere thought. Even if Testarossa wasn't afraid of bugs, provoking her was a death sentence. Yet, Rain and Sauka found his refusal disappointing, with Sauka even musing that they could have discovered Testarossa's weakness, while Moss was utterly terrified. Unknown to them, Testarossa had overheard everything. Later, she would recall how infuriating their conversation was while she was trying to fight seriously. For a moment, she considered obliterating them all with pure white nihilistic world, but refrained to avoid showing an opening to Twilight. Moss and the others never knew how close they came to death, but they would soon find out. Rain enjoyed teasing Moss, but her focus remained locked on Twilight. As a primordial, parallel thinking was second nature, allowing her to monitor Testarossa's battle while evaluating the threat before her. To Rain, Twilight and Diablo were the two greatest troublemakers in history. But while Diablo was an annoying yet charming nuisance, Twilight was a despicable menace, forcing his twisted ideals onto the world. His reckless experiments birthed countless disasters, earning him the title of catastrophe-class threat among demon lords. Rain had celebrated when Luminous destroyed Twilight, believing the nightmare was over. But now he had returned. Could Testarossa truly finish him off? She was a master of defense, but Twilight's immortality was an unknown variable. Rain broke into a cold sweat. If she had to fight Twilight, she knew she wouldn't stand a chance. Her only option would be to stall. But Testarossa was different. She was far stronger than before, had fought Velzard to a standstill, and above all, was calculating. She wouldn't enter a battle without a plan. Rain convinced herself that cheering for her would help, despite the fact that her support meant nothing to her. Still, with growing curiosity, she prepared to watch the battle unfold. Twilight's irritation grew. His patience had run out. As he declared the end of his amusement, he unleashed the fighting spirit he had been suppressing until now. It was, without a doubt, the aura of a dragon. Meanwhile, Twilight reflected on his greatest achievement, Guryutai, the pinnacle of immortality. Through his research, he had ensured his soul could be perfectly recreated, allowing him to revive indefinitely. Yet, simple memory inheritance was insufficient. He sought to preserve the very essence of the heart. His breakthrough came when Velzard froze his core, creating a pseudo-dragon body infused with her power. This granted him strength on par with a dragon species, making him seemingly untouchable. Twilight's ambitions didn't stop there. His unique skill, Greed, evolved over time, its essence passing through multiple hosts, Mariabelle and Yuuki, before culminating in King of Greed, Ammon. But even that was not the end. Driven by insatiable curiosity, Twilight sought what lay beyond the ultimate. Through relentless pursuit, he brought forth a fearsome existence that should never have been, a terrifying power that surpassed even the Deadly Sin series, standing as the counterpart to the authority created by Veldanava, the ultimate skill, King of Viciousness, Angra Mainyu. With abilities such as thought acceleration, universal perception, analysis and appraisal, creation of all things, ability duplication, ability synchronization, space-time manipulation, multidimensional barrier, and eternal reincarnation, he had reached the peak of both research and combat. As long as Velzard existed, Twilight remained indestructible and invincible. Twilight unleashed his dragon aura, his Guryutai form radiating overwhelming pressure. The gap in their existence value was staggering, nearly tenfold in his favor. Confident in his physical superiority, he dismissed Testarossa as insignificant. Their battle began, and hours passed with neither falling. Though Testarossa's attacks were nullified and Twilight countered relentlessly, she remained standing, calm, composed, and unwavering. This endurance irritated Twilight. His superiority was unquestionable, yet she refused to break. In a split second of distraction, white flare, Testarossa had waited for his focus to waver, striking with devastating force. Pain seared his flesh, but he regenerated instantly, sneering in mockery. Yet, something felt off. He had dismissed white flare as her strongest attack, but an unsettling feeling gnawed at him. Testarossa, however, remained unfazed, her smile deepening. From the start, Twilight had played into her hands. Every move, every exchange, precisely orchestrated. He had focused entirely on overpowering her, never realizing the battlefield itself had already been claimed. Then, his eyes widened in realization as he saw that Testarossa's wounds were gone. Even her torn uniform had been fully restored. He had miscalculated, and in this battle, one mistake meant defeat.